Hello, welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today is a very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. And on this pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things, we have much stuff and things to talk about, including upcoming videos, things that you can look forward to on Stuff and Things and Stuff and Things Plays. We will talk a little bit about the Seahawks. We have to do it. We're almost to football season now. It's the only sport I follow, so a little bit about the Seahawks. And then the topic of the show will be the great gerbil escape of 2022, which caused much consternation in the household. And then we will get to your questions, comments, and feedback in hashtag askstuffandthings. So let's get into it. Upcoming videos. Now this one I am very excited about, and we have our good friend Chad Curtis to thank for it. We will be doing kind of a combination of a first impressions with a review of Exotique mixture by Esser's Haven, produced by J.F. Germain and Sons. Now you may know how much I love J.F. Germain and Sons blends. They produce some amazing blends. They're very hard to get, especially in the US, because they just don't have a ton of capacity, I think. They just can't seem to keep up with demand. These are blends that they produce for Smoker's Haven. This blend in particular, Exotique, is kind of their take on the Balkan Sobranie 759 mixture. An almost mythical blend for people in the pipe hobby, one that I was never able to have. I think it was originally produced in the 20s and then went all the way through the very early 2000s, last produced by Gallagher, I can't remember. But I never had those. I never had those blends. I can't compare this to that. I can kind of compare it to Germain's own version of Balkan Sobranie, but it's been quite a while since I've had that as well. But I did a video on this. It's mostly a first impressions video, but I'm not doing a full review in a week's time because it's so hard to get this. And I feel like even though I've reviewed some really hard to get blends in the past, like some of the Esoterica blends, I think that for the most part now, if I get something that's super rare, super unique, I will do these kinds of videos where it's kind of a first impression, kind of a video, or kind of a full review, but not really a full review because I haven't had it for a good week or 2 weeks, but just something where you can get my impressions of it and get a pretty good idea of what the blend is. And this one, yeah, I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's really cool. It's really, really interesting, and you should check that out. This will be the Wednesday video. Of course, we will be doing our best blend as well, the other Esser's Haven blend that I got from our good friend Chad. That will be coming up in the future. We will also be doing more timeless style. I really want to make this series a thing, and it will only be a thing if you guys watch it. So please, if you have not watched the timeless style video on the Barracuda G9 Harrington jacket, please jump back and check that out, because the more of you watch it, the more likely it is that YouTube will show it to other people who aren't subscribers. Also, I did the video last week on the Dutch hagelslag, and you should definitely check that out. It's a really interesting, unique little slice of culture. If you are into exotic foods, not that it's like super exotic, or just seeing how the other half lives or the other people in the world live, you should check it out. It's a cool little breakfast snack, something that I just kind of randomly found out about and decided to order the things that I would need in to make it. Not that making it involves all that much, but it's really interesting, really cool. You should check that out as well. And then of course, we have the Elden Ring series continuing on Stuff and Things Plays every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So please check that out too. All right, so we're heading into September now. In fact, it is September now. And football season is about to begin. I have not talked about the Seahawks for a very long time. I think I might have expressed some annoyance when they traded away the franchise quarterback, Russell Wilson, who is he 33 or 34? He's still young enough to have some good years left, and he is a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback, and it's kind of crazy for a football team to trade away their franchise quarterback, especially when the only two quarterbacks we have now behind him, or instead of him, are Geno Smith and Drew Lock. So it's very hard for me to be super enthusiastic about this year. I know that this will just be kind of a bridge year. Maybe they'll just be biding their time until hopefully they can get a quarterback in the draft next year. And I'm hoping that they have someone in mind and they have a pretty good plan of how to get that person. They could have gotten Malik Willis. They could have gotten Ritter. They could have got several pretty good quarterback prospects, but they decided not to. They decided to wait. So hopefully they have someone better in mind for next year. But now we're faced with a season where maybe the running game's going to be okay. The quarterback play is not going to be great. I don't see them winning more than 8 games at the most, and I'm still going to watch, but I don't know. The more I hear about the trade and the reasons for it, I can kind of understand it. I think that Russell Wilson is a lot. He's got a lot that goes along with him. He's got a huge entourage. He likes to do things his way. He seems like he might be kind of irritating, but I don't care really. Like if you own a football team or you're a football coach, you should want the best quarterback you can get. And if you already have that guy, it's so hard to find that guy, you should hold on to that guy. But I can kind of understand why they wanted to get rid of him. I think at the end of the day, it was a power struggle between Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson, if you were thinking about the good of the team, probably should have won that power struggle, but we'll see how it shakes out. I'm just not super excited about this year. I don't see the Seahawks doing well, and I just hope that they have someone in mind for next year. Let me know what you think of your team and their prospects if you follow football at all. Again, football is the only sport that I pay any attention to, and occasionally I will be talking about it during football season. So hopefully you don't mind too much. But now, gang, a tale of woe. So those of you who have been watching the channel know that I got some gerbils. I think it was last November, or it was in November. Hasn't been a year yet since I've had them. And I posted a couple of videos of me trying to tame them, trying to get them to be a little more used to my presence. And I've had some success with that. I can feed them, I can interact with them a bit. My fiance has always been rather worried about them escaping. And I always thought of that as a fairly minor concern. I didn't think there was any way they were going to be getting out of their big enclosure. You have seen that enclosure if you've watched any of the videos about the gerbils. Well, the other night, I was cleaning their cage as usual. Every day after dinner, or every evening after dinner, I clean their cage, I give them fresh water, I freshen up their food bowl, I clean out their little litter box thing they have in there, and then I hand feed them some treats and interact with them a bit. And I just did that as normal, not really paying attention to anything, because usually I'll leave the cage open. There's a hinge lid that can flip up, and I'll leave that open while I'm, cleaning out their litter box or getting them fresh water and stuff. And even though Conan, the most daring of my 2 gerbils, has sort of made a couple jumps towards the rim of the cage, I never thought that he would actually pull himself up and then leap down, because it's a good 4 or 5 feet drop from the cage to the floor, and it just never occurred to me that he would do something like that. He does occasionally hang from the rim and chew on the plastic around the rim, but there's no way he's ever going to get through it, and there's no way that he's ever going to push the rim of the cage up or the lid up, because it's way too heavy for him. So anyway, didn't think anything of it, closed everything down, closed the lid, and, proceeded to go about my evening, went to bed that night, but my sleep was disturbed by strange dreams. At one point, I think it was around 4 in the morning, I was having a dream where I was hearing a gerbil, and in my dream I knew it was a gerbil, and I could hear it scurrying about and digging at things and just scurrying all around the apartment. And this was in my head, like, okay, in my dream my gerbil has escaped. So I woke up, and I had that feeling that you get sometimes where you dream about something and then it takes you a while when you first wake up to realize that it was just a dream. It still seems like it was real in your mind. And so I got up thinking, oh no, the gerbils escaped. And so I went to the bathroom, wandered into the living room and looked at the cage and like, oh, well no, the cage lid is closed. So it's fine. The gerbil didn't escape. It was just a dream. Went back to bed, woke up the next morning, I think it was a Sunday that I woke up, and I told Diamond about the dream. She was like, they better not have escaped. I was like, no, it was just a dream. I went out and checked the lid. It was fine. And then we didn't really think much else of it. You could see that there was evidence in the cage that at least one of them was in there. I thought both of them were in there, but their food had been messed with, their litter or their sandbox had been kind of dug around in and stuff. So didn't really think anything more of it. But then around noon, we do yoga every Sunday. It's very good for me because I have a lot of back issues and stuff, so it really helps. And while I was doing, I don't know, child's pose or downward facing dog or something, my head was at floor level, and I happened to glance over, kind of into a corner, and I saw what was unmistakably a gerbil turd, a piece of feces, excrement. And I knew it was from a gerbil because theirs is very distinctive. It's tiny, it's a hard little pellet because there's almost no moisture content. It's one of the reasons why they're so great, because they don't smell. But I saw it there, and I went, ooh. And I said, Diamond, I think we have a problem. She was immediately not thrilled by this whatsoever, and I started looking around, and I noticed a couple more little turds around, and I went, oh my lord, one of them at least is actually out of the cage. And so I went to the cage, looked, kind of dug around in the bedding, found that good old, stolid, dependable Subutai was still in the cage, and so it meant that Conan had escaped. Somehow, while I was cleaning the cage out, he had leapt up to the rim, pulled himself out, and then made a crazy, daring leap down onto the floor. So, this was the situation. We had a tiny, little, defenseless gerbil running around in the apartment. And my first thought was, I am never going to be able to find him or catch him, because for the most part, they sleep during the day, so he could have just holed up into any little bit of, I don't know, he could have found a towel, or he could have gone into a cupboard, or he could have crawled up into the couch. He could have crawled up into the couch, gotten under the cushions, and then when we sat on the couch, we could have crushed him. There were so many things that could have happened to him. I expected that I would just never see him again, and then eventually, after he died of starvation or died of thirst, the rotting little corpse would eventually attract my attention, and we may or may not ever find it because it might not be in a place that we could ever get to. And so I was rather worried, and Diamond was rather not happy about the whole situation. And so I started looking around, like, where could he be? Where could he be? I looked at the couch and I lifted it up, and there were definitely areas that a gerbil could make egress into the couch. And as I lifted it, I swore that I could hear scurrying inside the couch. So I'm like, oh, he's in the couch. So Diamond went, I'm going in the room, went away. I sat there with the couch on end. Come on. Got some food, got some water. I was like, come on, buddy, come on. No sign of him whatsoever. I spent a good hour and a half. I built like a little corral. I put some food in there, some water, and I put towels all around the rim of the couch except for one opening that would lead underneath, and then put the food there with like a box that I could just close behind if he came out to try to get the food. Spent a long time just reading and staring at that area. Quite a bit of time went by, and then I heard Diamond stirring in the bedroom, and she came out and said, he's in my closet. I was immediately thrilled by this because I realized this is a small enclosed area. I can corral him in there, and the chances are that I can get him without him like rushing out and then me never being able to catch him. She was not pleased by this because he was rummaging amongst her shoes apparently. So she left. I went in there, I got a little like travel cage, I got some food, I got some water again, and I started poking around in the closet trying to find where he could be. Now, bear in mind, this is a tiny, tiny little rodent. He will come to me when he's in his cage and it's time for him to be fed. He will come and sit on my hand, he will eat, but if I make any large movements, his instincts immediately take over and he rushes for cover. So I knew that especially, he's probably frightened out of his mind. His world had expanded from one that's like this big to one that was almost infinite, according to what his perception would be. Has no idea where he is or what's going on. He hasn't had food, he hasn't had water. He's probably just completely frightened. And so I started poking around, like, where is he? Where is he in the closet? And the closet's kind of divided in two. So I tried to determine which half of the closet he was in. I heard him rummaging about, so I kind of blocked off. I started piling like shoe boxes and other things to try to block off one half of the closet. And then I started slowly pulling things out, trying to make sure that I had blocked off the entrance. Finally saw his little eyes, his black doll-like eyes, peering out at me from under a shoe, like a shoe rack in the closet. And then spent about 30 minutes, come on buddy, come on out. Had some food there, had his little cage. I put a little ramp going into the cage, and then I got down and started moving my hands underneath where he was to try to like corral him into the cage. And after a lot of effort, he finally ran into the cage and I was able to close the door. Looking back, I can see it as being kind of amusing. Conan's grand adventure. He jumps out of his cage and suddenly finds himself in a very strange, gigantic world of which he knows nothing. But at the time, it was kind of stressful. I really thought he was going to die and I would never find him, or I wouldn't find him until I found his hard little rotting corpse. So it was pretty great. I put him back in the cage. He was reunited with his brother Subotai. I'm sure he had many adventures to tell Subotai. Hopefully he didn't get a taste for that freedom and he's not going to try again, but I'm being extra careful now when I clean the cage. But that was a bullet dodged, because I honestly thought he was going to die. And then you can't have just one gerbil. You have to have two, and there is no guarantee that if you get another one and try to put it into a cage with a established gerbil that they will get along. So anyway, welcome back, Conan. Don't ever do that again. All right, gang, but now it's time for hashtag askstuffandthings. Remember, if you have a question for me and you would like it answered on the Sunday Stuff and Things, you can tweet at SATBradley with the hashtag askstuffandthings. You can also write to me via Patreon if you are a Patreon supporter and your question will go to the front of the line. You can also leave comments, feedback, and questions on my YouTube videos. So first, via Patreon, we have a question from James Cooper. James says, I love Elizabethan, but would like to find another vapor with a bit more of a Perique kick. Any ideas? I have reviewed a couple blends. Thank you for the question and for your patronage, by the way, James. I'm thinking of Bayou Morning, pops into my mind. In fact, I'm thinking of pretty much all Cornell and Diehl blends. Bayou Morning has a large portion of Perique. I think it's close to 25%. I'd have to check on that. Cajun Cake by Cornell and Diehl. Old Joe Krantz. I'm sure there's other ones I'm forgetting, but those have high Perique quotients, portions, parts, lots of Perique in those blends. So check those out if you haven't already. Next, via YouTube, and M. Curcio, who actually wrote a note here that says they would like to be referenced as Mike from Bishop's Pipes, says, Bradley, what counts as a view? Is it just a click on a video, or does the viewer need to watch for X amount of seconds before it counts as a view? Does skipping through a video impact analytics? And if picking this question, please reference me as Mike for Bishop's Pipes. Thank you, Mike. That is a very good question, and it's one that I am not totally clear on. I have some inklings and I have a bit of information. I do know that when I look at analytics for videos, they will show retention and engagement. So how long people watch the video. I think YouTube cares more about that than they do about just individual clicks on the video. And they will show, you know, when you lose viewers, like on average, if people get 4 minutes into the videos before they click off. So I think it is a lot about the duration of the view as opposed to just clicking on it. I don't know about clicking through the video. I know my fiance, she's so amazing that she will take every video that I have, and even if she's already watched it, she will just play it in the background with the sound off, just so it gets a play, because she's amazing. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure what counts. I think a view is just a click, but they put more weight into how long people are watching, as far as I can tell. Next, we have some feedback from last week's Sunday Stuff and Things. This is from Keith Hannon. Hey, good friend Bradley. As someone who has finished Elden Ring, I've been enjoying watching you catch up. I think it would be fun to know where you are in the game currently. As far as a style series suggestion, you can't overlook the Oxford shirt. And a couple suggestions for the how-to series. Tying a tie and tying your shoelaces. Check out the Berluti knot, as it is the superior shoelace knot. Thanks for the videos. Got to get back to rewatching SATP Bloodborne, your good friend Keith. Thank you, Keith, very much. So let me try to get to all these questions, because anytime anyone asks multiple questions, I tend to forget one of them. I am currently in Elden Ring. No one who hasn't played Elden Ring will understand what this means, but I have just, I think, well, I don't even know if this is true, but I was doing a lot of Ronnie's questline, and I am now doing some finishing up in Caelid. What did I just do in Caelid? I did the swamp of, what is the swamp? It's like the rotting swamp. Anyway, no one else will know what's going on unless they've been watching the series or unless they played the game. Over Oxford shirt, yes, other people have suggested that, thank you. And then tying a tie, that would be interesting. I know there are plenty of tutorials online for that, but maybe. And then there are some interesting shoelace knots. I usually just do the boring ones, but I do know a couple other ones as well, like for dress shoes. So thank you, Keith. Next, from Marco Duxi. Congratulations. By the way, another beautiful knife that I wouldn't fight against owning. I was talking about my Bark River Aurora Scandi in CPM 3V. I'm coming from a culture where knives, or guns, cough, are not something anyone other than criminals would carry with them, so me saying they're beautiful has to mean something. Other than some being in my toolbox, I only use one dedicated to cutting plug tees, and only that one knows anything about the outside world. Yeah, I mean, there are definitely some cultural differences for sure. Even in the US, if you were to have like a big knife strapped to your hip, I think in most places people would raise an eyebrow about that, and some places it would even be illegal. Depends on which state you're in. In my state, I think technically you can't conceal any knife whatsoever, and that you should be able to have any knife on your hip in open carry, except for in certain cities, like in Seattle, I don't think you can have anything over 3.5 inches. And then there's also the caveat that if someone is intimidated by the knife, then that could be cause for you being in trouble. So it's kind of hazy, kind of a gray area. I don't carry large knives with me. Seems like it's not a great idea. Next, from Rubber Ring. Yay, hagelslag. As a Dutchie, I approve of this message. Although I hardly ever eat the stuff, I'm more of a savory person. It's nice that a lot of Dutch people wrote in when I was talking about hagelslag, both in the Sunday video and in the trying the Dutch breakfast video. I commented on the Barracuda vid, but my response got deleted. I think because I used the name of a certain auction website ending with Bay. It did say that I own 3 Barracuda jackets myself, all of them bought from the Bay. Instead of $400, you'll pay about $80 to $100. That's good advice for people. They get put up quite a lot, but be sure to check if you're getting the real deal. I wouldn't call myself a skinhead. I don't like football, soccer, so that would rule me out as a true traddy skinhead, but I like to dress the style. Doc Martens, monkey boots, or Clark's desert boots. Ben Sherman shirts and stay pressed trousers, but sometimes also penny loafers and a parka, which I guess would make me a hard mod or suede head. You definitely know your culture there, your countercultures. Subcultures. What got me there is my love for Jamaican ska, late 60s, rocksteady, and early reggae 70s. Yeah, that was definitely another part of the early skinhead movement. The non-racist, has nothing to do with that, skinhead movement was soul, ska, rocksteady, all that good stuff. Thanks for clarifying that skinheads are not racist by definition. Oh yeah, and congratulations on the 10 million views, well deserved. Deserved. Thank you, Rubber Ring. Next, from Richard Flake. Hi Bradley, funny seeing you eating hagelslag. I'm from the Netherlands and do very much enjoy eating hagelslag on my bread in the mornings. Although I prefer die intens pur, that is hagelslag with 60% cacao. You should try that one. Thanks for all the amazing content you put out there. Thank you, Richard. This is more feedback from the Dutch breakfast. This is Sander B, another Dutchie. I'm from Amsterdam. Brood is a typical breakfast and lunch. That just means bread, right? People buy slices in the supermarket and make them ready at home. Sliced bread with toppings and take them with them to eat later. If you like, I can send you a box of Dutch food. Stroopwafel are also great. Beschuit, you can always put butter on to make it a little less dry. You should try beschuit with slices of strawberry and a little powdery sugar on top. thank you for the suggestions. I may take you up on a little Dutch snack box at some point. I have had stroopwafel, but only like the store-bought package kind. But they were good. Next, from Jason Parsons, the Dutch do things a bit different. I worked with Dutch soldiers a bit in Bosnia in '99. They had some sort of chocolate pudding for breakfast, if I remember right. Other guys I know worked with them in Eritrea in 2000. They had been eating rations for quite a while and finally got the kitchen up and running on Christmas. It was a Dutch kitchen and they had some fries cooked. The Canadians there were excited to see what they thought was gravy. Oh, so they thought maybe they were going to make some poutine. Turns out it was warmed up peanut butter with the consistency of gravy. Fries and peanut butter gravy. Who knew? Interesting. I have heard that the Dutch like peanut butter, and that seems rare in Europe. Most Europeans, when asked about peanut butter, don't seem to like it. Americans love peanut butter, or at least in general. I love peanut butter. A lot of people in the UK are like, ugh, peanut butter, and other European countries I've seen don't seem to like peanut butter, but I know the Dutch do. So they're okay in my book. And finally, Rubber Ring yet again. It's impossible to tell you how to pronounce Beschuit. That's B-E-S-C-H-U-I-T, not even phonetically. The S-C-H and the U-I are sounds that simply don't exist in the English language. Glad you liked it though. And finally from Ernest Kahn, your pronunciation is good so far, and I appreciate that, but I know it wasn't great. I know when I was just saying hagelslag, I have heard Dutch people say like hagelslag, and you know, in English we don't really use those kind of clearing the throat sounds anymore, and then the Beschuit, Bescuit. I know it's supposed to be biscuit, like from the French word biscuit. In English, we say biscuit. I'm sure that's what you're trying to say, or that's where the word comes from. So I'm assuming maybe it should be bescuit, bescuit. I don't know. But anyway, I know what it's supposed to mean. I just don't know how to pronounce it. And there you go, gang. That's the feedback. Please keep the feedback, the comments, and the questions coming in. It is super, super useful for me to have this interaction with you guys, the feedback. It's really cool, so thank you very much. But now it is time for the very best part of the show, and that is where we thank our Patreon supporters. The people who support us on Patreon make this show go, and their help is super appreciated. They help pay for the fancy camera that is filming this video, the lights that are shining upon me, products for review. If you would like to support the channels, there is a link to our Patreon in the description box below, and it would be much appreciated. You can also hit that super thanks button under this video, and that would be appreciated as well. But we also just love you watching, subscribing, sharing, liking, and commenting. It all helps, and it's all very, very much appreciated. But every week we say a shout out to those who support the channels at $25 or more a month. People like Kirk Crompton, Glenn, Jason Buckner, Gloria Phillips, MDoftheNorth, David Gaudreau, Nick Papageorgio, John Tice, and Ryan McFadin. Thank you all so much. And of course, the Maniacs, the crazy people who support the channels at $100 a month. People like our good friend and award-winning author Peter Straub, stolid and dependable Bob Magee, and rising from the ashes, Ashes of the Phoenix. Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you all so much for watching. Please stay tuned for the video on Exotique mixture by Esser's Haven this Wednesday. More stuff in the Timeless Tile series. We will have our best blend as well. And of course, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the adventures of Kevin the Kurt on Stuff and Things Plays. But until next time, until we meet again, I've been your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things on a pleasant Sunday, Stuff and Things. I'll see you later.